Welcome back. Till now, we have studied the basics of React Router. For example, how can you define your own routes and what do you mean by exact routing. Now, let's discuss about intentional routing. That is, how can you make the user go to different routes? Well, the user is of course not always going to go to different routes, right? He's not going to type out the URL in the web browser and then go to different route again and again. There should be a button on our screen through which we can take it to a different route. For example, there should be a navigation bar which would link to all the other routes. Let's see how can we make this happen. Let's see how can we make the intentional navigation inside our React router by building a navigation bar. To build the navigation bar, we are going to use the React Burger menu library. Well, of course, we can easily build out a navigation bar for ourselves. It would hardly take a very less amount of JSX and CSS as well. But then again, my main motive here is to show you that there are a lot of libraries present out there, free and open source libraries, which you can use in your side projects. So yes, you should definitely know how to build things, but you should also know how to leverage on the work that has already been done. Well, of course, we have in the initial videos, we have already installed the React Burger menu. In case you haven't, just go to your terminal or command prompt and type out the npm install React Burger menu. Once you install that, once you see the installation is successful, you will be able to use this particular menu. So let's start with our code. So at the end of the day, it's going to look like this. So after this video, you will be able to build something that is looking exactly like this. So I'm super excited for it. Let's get started. Perfect. So now, of course, you should also know how to use a library by seeing the documentation. So reading the documentation is most of the times very easy. So as you can see here, it's so simple. So what they are doing is nothing but they're importing the menu from React Burger menu. They are creating a class-based component with a show settings kind of function where they would probably want to show settings or something like that, and then they're using the menu component to show the various links. We don't need the show settings, we just need a menu to show our various links. So let's create a navbar and let's use this library inside our navigation bar. Perfect. So I'm going to create a new component inside our components directory. I'm going to name it navbar. Okay, so navbar is already present, so I must have created it. So it's an empty folder, although yes, it's an empty folder. I must have created it by mistake earlier. Perfect. So all you need to do now is create a navbar.jsx as always, and a navbar.css to contain our stylings. I'm going to import React from React. I'm going to import the navbar.css, and let's create a class-based component. I'm going to name it navbar. We don't need any state inside it, and yes, we don't need this return. I'm just going to copy and paste the code from the documentation. So let's jump back to the documentation. Let's import our menu component. Perfect. We have import slide as menu. Cool. So now let's copy and paste this whole return statement. Very good. Perfect. And here let's remove this settings link. We just need home, about, and let's say projects for now. Let's keep it projects. Perfect. So now as you can see, it has an ID of home, about, contact. Let's rename it to, let's say, we don't need any ID as such here, so ideally we can delete it, but yeah, anyways, we are just going to delete this whole anchor tag itself at the end of the day, but don't worry about that. Just don't worry about that. Cool. So one thing that you might be thinking, that why are we using a class-based component here and not a functional component? Well, we need to get access to our location or our history object. So to do that, it's inside our class-based component. It's going to be super easy. Why do we need access to that? Very easy. Again, so whenever I click on any link, for example, let's say contact. So inside my contact link, whenever I'm on /contact, this thing is highlighted. Whenever I'm on about, the about link is highlighted and underlined. So we need to keep track of our URL. So to do that, we will have to access the location object from the props. Doing that in a class-based component is relatively easy, but doing that in a functional component, let me tell you, is much more easy. Yes, you heard it right. In that, it's just a function. It's called use history. But then again, since I haven't told you the concept of React hooks, so I planned on having a class-based component here. So if you know React hooks, again, you can do it using the functional component as well. So React hooks is not at all difficult. So I've seen a lot of teachers, a lot of tutors, a lot of tutorials on YouTube and other platforms saying that React hooks come in the advanced section of React. Well, no, that's not at all true. React hooks is not at all advanced. We can just say it's relatively new. It's not advanced, but it's new. So it's nothing like React hooks is difficult. But the thing is that earlier we used to have class-based component for all for all our features like state, lifecycle methods, and so on. But afterwards, recently, you can say React library also supports all those features that we can have in our class-based component inside our functional component as well, using React hooks. So till now, in my tutorials, I haven't introduced you to React hooks. So that's why I'm refraining to use it here. But probably in the next tutorial itself, I'm going to create one tutorial completely for React hooks. So after that, you can very easily and confidently use the hooks as well. But for now, let's stick to our class-based components. Perfect. That was a little bit off topic from the current agenda. But yes, that was something important that I wanted to tell you, that React hooks are not at all difficult, but it's just that I haven't released a tutorial on hooks till now, and that's why I'm using this. So probably next month or after a couple of months, I'll release a tutorial on React hooks as well. So yes, stay tuned to my React Mega tutorial series. Well, perfect. Now that we have our navbar, just see that you have imported this menu correctly. In case you haven't, you are going to see an error, you're going to run into an issue. So to prevent that, let's import it very carefully. Perfect. So now that we have our navbar, we can import it easily inside our app.jsx. Well, something to be noticed here is an important note that you also need to provide styles. Without styling, it's going to look a lot weird. So yes, stay prepared to see something weird. But anyways, cool. So now I'm going to import navbar inside here, and let's see whether it works or not. Let's go back and let's refresh the page. So here I can easily see nothing has changed as such, but my cursor has become a pointer. So that means there is some link on this page which is currently not visible. And even if I inspect the element and see, you will see that here we have a burger menu. So we can click on this button and we are able to see these links. Let's say if I go to about, so we go to about section, if we go to home, we go to home section, and so on. So yes, we'll come back to the stylings. Don't worry about it. Styling is just a piece of cake. But before styling, I want to tell you something super important. So that something super important is that just keep a note here. Just add a comment here that we never want to use a tag here inside our React router application. So my typing speed has become a little bit slow. I'm not sure why, but anyways, cool. So why do we not want to use the a tag inside our React router application? Well, think about it. So what is happening when, just notice it here very quickly. Whenever I click on these links, so this is an a tag right now, this is an anchor tag right now. So what happens is whenever I click on this link, let's say projects. So as you can see here, the whole page refreshes. So we don't want that, right? That was the whole idea, right? That was the whole motive why we were using the client-side routing. So if you remember, inside the client-side routing, we wanted it to be smooth. We did not want the whole page to refresh, because That's why we were using the client-side routing. So how to handle this is basically React Router library provides us a link component. Let's import that. Import link from React Router DOM. Perfect. So if you see, it's a React component. Perfect. So let me close this, and now we can easily replace our anchor tags with the link component. Or if you want, I can let one anchor tag be here just for your reference. Apart from that, we can easily do this. Perfect. So let's add a link component, and in the link component, so very similar to how we used to define our routes. So inside a route, we used to define a path. So this path was according to this route. Similarly, inside our link, we have a to prop. So this to prop defines where do we want to go. So this should be identical to one of these paths. Perfect. So let's create a route for our home page. I'm going to give it a class name of, let's say, menu item, since we had menu item class name in our anchor tags as well, and we would probably want to preserve our stylings for that. Cool. So that is our home page, and let's copy and paste it around 4 times to have other things as well. The about page, the projects page, the skills page, and the contact me page. Contact page, yeah, that's fine. Let's provide a proper route to it as well. Projects and skills and contact. Well, this is perfect. Now if you see, it's not going to do a whole page refresh. If I click on, let's say, about, it's not going to do, as you can see here, it did not do a whole page refresh. Rather, it handled the routing on the client side itself, and it did not change the whole thing. So that was pretty smooth. So that's pretty much it about our intentional navigation. How can we make our user click on a button and then navigate to a different route? That was very simple. Now 2 things are remaining in this video. I know it became a little bit long and it will take around 10 minutes more easily, but I want you to pay attention here because we are going to discuss something very important. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is how to get access to what route we are using. Why do we want that? I want you to guess, why do we want this route? Well, you guessed this right, and of course I've already told this in the starting of this video that we want to highlight the currently active page in our navbar. So to do that, we want this. Perfect. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is how to do that, and the second thing that we want to discuss is how are we going to style our component. Or rather, let's do it in the opposite manner, because first, this navbar is looking so bad that I don't feel like working on this. So let's fix some stylings first. So again, stylings, you can very easily copy and paste the whole code from here inside this, so it has all the stylings. But let me explain you the stylings, and let's do it from scratch instead of copy pasting, because that's why you are seeing this tutorial, right? You don't want to copy and paste everything. So let's do this. So first of all, we want to position and size our burger button. So this burger button, as you would have noticed, this is the burger button. This is something we called a burger button. Perfect. So to do that, I'm going to use the class name BM burger. So that's how they have defined. It's not something I have defined. It's the standard of the React React burger menu library. So this is how they have done it. So position, of course, we want it to be fixed, and width, I want it to be of, let's say, 36 pixels wide and the same 36 pixels height as well. Perfect. This looks cool. And I'm going to give the position 32 pixels from top and from left, and from top as well 32 pixels. Now let's see what happened. Perfect. I don't see anything would change, but as you can see, now our whole page is not a button. At least we see this pointer change only at this location. Perfect. So that is cool. So now let's add some color to our burger. Yeah, that's enough, I guess. BM burger bars. So as you can see here, again, this is not a class which I have defined, rather it's a class which they have provided us. Let's keep it a little bit dark. Let's say 3A and 47. That looks cool. A sort of grayish color, blue gray color. Yeah, this looks perfectly fine. Awesome, this looks well. Now let's give a shape or color to our burger icon on hover. So again, the same thing, the same class, but okay, just a second, cancel. Cool. So the same class with a hover option. So I'm going to make it completely black. I'm going to keep it 0. So now let's see. Did it not work? Why did it not work? Let's see, bm burger bars dot hover. It did not change, so probably something was wrong in their stylings. Let's see. I see. So this is hyphen hover, not on hover. So this is some mistake. So I can't remember the whole code, right? So yes, that's why we have the documentation. So always whenever you see or face any error, it is always a good idea to go back to the documentation and see how is it implemented. Perfect. So now that is done, let's do the size of the cross button. Size is going to be bm, then cross button, I think, as far as I can remember, cross button, it's going to be, I'm going to give it a height of 24 pixels and a width of again 24 pixels. Let's see if it happened. I think it's not going to show currently because we did not provide a color to it. Yes, exactly, we did not provide a proper color and all. So yes, we are also going to do that very quickly. So yes, let's jump back to our button. So I quickly saw the class names. So you should always keep referencing the documentation as well. So I'm going to give it a background of white color so that we are able to see it. Now it is visible. As you can see, it is visible. The cross is visible. Perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Let's add a little bit of comment here as well. The color of cross button. Perfect. Now we have to add some styles for the sidebar and all those things. For example, where should the style, how wide should be the sidebar, and all those things. So yes, I am going to name it the sidebar wrapper styles. Perfect. So again, the class for it is bm menu wrap, and its position is going to be fixed once again. And the height, I'm going to take it, so as you can see, it's going a little bit beyond my screen, so I'm going to keep the height to be 100 view height, and I'm going to keep the overflow as hidden. I'm going to give it a little bit of box shadow. Perfect. So 0 pixels, 4 pixels, 31 pixels RGBA, and I'm going to keep it black with an alpha value of 0.15. Perfect. And let's add some more style before we start looking at the implemented thing, or let's have a look at it. So as you can see, now we see the proper height and width of this. So again, the height is not yet fixed. We'll come back to it. It's not that difficult. We'll quickly come back to it. Perfect. So now I'm going to add some stylings to my list. Menu item. So item list. Perfect. So I'm going to add a padding to, let's say, padding of 0.8 ems. Perfect. That should be fine. So this is going to be the padding between the, let's say, items and the sides. Perfect. So that is cool. And menu item, the main thing here, menu item. This menu item is exactly this thing. So let's give it some styling. Let's say position relative. Let's give it a font size of 2 ems. We want to keep it really bigger so that the user can have a lot of focus on that. Text decoration none, because we don't need to have any underlines or anything, because we don't need to keep it as a link. We'll have some custom stylings. And color, again white color. And let's say font family Poppins, font family, or let's keep it Montserrat. Let's keep it a little bit different. Do we have this in the suggestions? No, we don't have it. So rather, let's type it out. So it's Montserrat. So it should be already installed in your system. Well, in case it's not, you can probably go to Google Fonts and get it. Or in case you want to not install it and have a CDN, you can include it in the index.html CDN. So I'm just adding it here for now. We can see if it works or not after adding the styles, because it's okay. Like, font styles don't really matter that much unless and until, so that's easily debuggable if you are able to get my point. So let's give it a font weight of normal once again, and let's give it a padding of 10 pixels in between. So now you're going to see the difference. Now, yes, we are almost here. As you can see, it's we are very close here. Perfect. So now I'm going to add a little bit of styling for the underline, as you can see here. So let's give it some, let's say, menu item, and I'm going to have it before. I'm going to say content as, yes, empty, and then position as absolute. Perfect. And width of 100%. So because I want to cover this underline to 100% width. Yes, this looks perfect. And height of 0, and the background color, let's say again background color can be white once again, and visibility is hidden. So unless and until we click on this, the visibility is going to be hidden, and yes, you already know what I'm meaning. And let's give it a transition of all 0.5 seconds and an ease in out. That looks perfectly fine. And let's do it, let's make an active class as well. So for now, let's just give it an active class. Let's say active item. So let's say we are on menu home page, but we are also going to see how are we going to change this active item. But for now, let's give it a hard code the active item. So this active item, I'm going to give a font weight bold, or let's say 500. So it should remain bold. Then again, whenever the item is active, so I'm going to change the visibility to visible. Perfect. And I'm going to give it a height of 3 pixels. So as you can see, we are just making a line sort of thing. That's completely fine. And then menu item hover before. In that case, I'm also going to keep on hover as well, basically keep the visibility as, or since it's both the same, let's assign the style like this. Perfect. So now we have the styling done. I know styling is very boring. I know, like, it's super boring. So, but never mind, that's something that we have to do. So as you can see, it is here. And we are seeing there are a few bugs still. Let's figure them out. Let's figure them out very quickly. But so I just noticed that I did not provide the styles to my menu itself. So yes, let's provide the styles to the menu as well. So .bm-menu, and I'm going to provide a background of linear gradient, and inside that linear gradient I'm going to so basically, from where am I coming with this? So basically, I have the Figma open. So inside the Figma we have all the styles, and we can directly copy and paste the CSS. So I'm just directly going to copy and paste this value here. So you can again copy and paste it along with me, just it's visible on your screen. So I'll open it, and by the meantime you can probably write it down here. So I'm just providing it a linear gradient in this manner. Perfect. And apart from that, I'm going to give it a little bit of padding of top 2.5 m, 1.5 m, 0, 0. So yeah, my computer has become a little bit slow, but anyways, and I'm going to give it a height of 100 view height, and I'm going to give it an overflow of hidden. And for the time being, I'm just going to make it important because there were some style override happening there. Perfect. So as you can see here, it is working completely fine. Perfect. So now that we have this here, and just one thing that is not working fine is that home is the icon on home. So for the active icon, probably we have done something wrong. Let's come back to it and have a little bit of debugging things. So we did not assign it a proper position. So I'm going to keep it bottom 0 and left of 0. This is perfect. And now if you see, we have done this. This is perfect. Okay, so now we have the styling for the navigation bar ready. It looks super cool. The only thing that is remaining is this extra padding at top, and that is something that is coming from the home page, the home container, and we still haven't started designing that, so don't worry about that. For now, we are going to fix that in upcoming section where we are going to design our home page. So for now, as you can see, this is working perfectly, and this is also probably responsive as well. This is perfectly responsive. As you can see, we can see a perfect navigation menu here as well. Perfect. So now the only thing that's remaining is, first of all, as I told you, I'm also going to show you the Figma styles, how to basically get these sort of styles from our Figma. And the second thing is that how can we get our location and change the active item based on our location. Perfect. So now, first thing, let's have a look at the Figma design. So these are the designs which I designed in the Figma, as I already showed you in the initial sections of our this mega tutorial. First of all, I designed some wireframes, and then I designed the final flow. So how do we get to these particular sort of, let's say, gradients? For example, let's say this one. So what's going to happen is, if we click on the inspect, it's going to give us a proper CSS, and we can just directly copy and paste. So why I'm not copying and pasting everything from this is because it's giving us some hard-coded positions, left 27.3 and something like that. So this would work only if the screen size is this, and this would not work as soon as the screen size changes. So whenever you are copying and pasting styles from your Figma style sheet or from the Figma file, make sure that you are only copying and pasting the things like font family, background, box shadow, and all those things. Nothing related to position, because otherwise it will break on different screen sizes. Perfect. So let's close this file now, and now let's come back to our navbar. So inside our navbar, we want one more thing. We want to have access to our various routes, and based on that, we want to take some actions. Perfect. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I am going to import something called with router. So we can easily get access to our whole history object and the location object using with router. So basically what's going to do is, whenever we export our React component wrapped inside a with router, what it's going to do is, it's going to pass on all the information about the router and the route along with the props to this particular object. So we can quickly see that, but just a quick information here is that you can get access to this history object and location object only and only if your component comes inside the router. If it's placed outside, it's going to show you an error. Let me show you how. Let me show you what is this. First of all, let's console.log this.props. Perfect. So let's log out our props. Let me inspect this, and let's go to console and let's refresh the page. So as you can see, we have the history object, we have the location object, and we have a lot of other things as well. We have everything mentioned in our props. Perfect. So we have everything now. But what is going to happen if I define this navbar here instead of here? So you must be thinking, what's the need of putting it inside a router? Because it's not a route, right? It's just a navbar. So what's going to happen here is, our app is going to crash, because we should never use with router outside a router. So that's something you should remember, that we can't get access to with router or any history object or any other thing outside it. But there is a way to deal with that if we create our own history object, and we can easily create our own history object as well. So that was one way, and this is the other way to have it inside our navigation bar. Perfect. And the other way, that is having our own history object, I don't think it's necessary in this project, but let's say if we are working with Redux, yes, when I'm going to publish the tutorial of Redux, there we might want to have access to history object inside our various other files, let's say actions and reducers and other things. So yes, there we might define our own custom history object. But for now, let's keep the navbar inside the browser router. And now that is very, very easy. Just one final thing that's remaining here is, first of all, I'm going to export the location. I'm going to destructure it from my props, this dot props, and I'm going to first of all log the location object as well. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to refresh the page. What happens here is it has the path name projects. Perfect. So based on the path name, now we can easily assign our active item class. So again, this might look a little bit of repetitive code, but since there are only 5 links, so I thought that it's okay to have a little bit of repetition. But then again, if you want, you can have some other workaround as well. You can easily do some sort of string match or something other than this. But for now, I'm going to do this in a sort of repetitive manner, but again, it's fine. So I'm going to compare location.pathname with slash, and if it's true, then I'm going to assign it to active item. If it's not true, then just an empty string. That's it. So it's as simple as that. So again, as I told you, you can easily do some other things as well to repeat, to sort of avoid repeating things. But since it's just 5 links, so I thought it's fine. So I'm going to do is, I'm going to have multiple cursors, and I am going to delete this. So now let's come back to the first thing. I'm going to name it as about class. I'm going to name it as projects class. I'm going to name it as skills class. I'm going to name it as contact class, and so on. Slash about slash projects slash skills and slash contact. Perfect. So that's it. that's all that we need to do. Now we can remove this hard-coded active class, and what we can do is, let's assign it inside a backtick instead of normal quotes, and let's move it to our curly braces. And you already know this, how to do the string interpolation, so it's nothing but that. As simple as that. It's so easy, so easy. Perfect. Let's do that in all of our links. Again, as I told you, it might look a little bit repetitive. You can always have some workarounds for this, but I decided not to go too deep into it because it was just 5 links, so it does not matter that much. So about class, projects class, skills class name to skills class name, and contact class name to contact class name. Now what you're going to see here is something super cool. So since we are on projects, it highlighted the projects. Since we are on home, it highlighted the home. Since we are on contact, it highlighted the contact. So all we did was, we did a simple string comparison with the path name. So if the path name is contact, then have an active element on contact, and so on. That is it. I know it became so big. I did not want this video to become so big, so I'll not take too much time of yours now. But at least we did so many things. So as you can see here, we have the whole navbar ready with us. So that is it for this video. Before going, let's quickly delete the log statement that we have to avoid unnecessary logs. And that's it. Let's see you in the next video, where I am going to discuss one very important thing about React Router, that is the programmatic navigation with you guys. See you in the next video. Bye bye.